What if your body was a gift and contribution to your life and not something that you've been stuck with? What if your body could change quickly and easily? Right Body for You will inspire you and show you a different way of creating the body and the life you truly desire. Now here's your host, Donnielle. What if your body was a gift and contribution to your life and not something that you've been stuck with? What if your body could change quickly and easily? Right Body for You will inspire you and show you a different way of creating the body and the life you truly desire. Now here's your host, Donnielle.
And good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to Right Body for You. A few seconds delayed reaction. I was having interesting computer issues. Well, that's what happens when you're on a plane. Haha, just kidding. In case you're wondering, today I am actually on a plane on the way to Turkey for the first ever Right Body for You workshop in Turkey. Round of applause. Woohoo! Yay! Yeah! I am so excited to be going to Turkey to do the first Right Body for You workshop. It is quite an interesting experience going into these different countries where traditions are a little bit different than what we're used to, but just even day-to-day life and getting translated. And, you know, it's quite a fun and unique experience and one I am so grateful for every day. Because just like being with you guys here on the radio show, I have so much fun doing the workshops and getting to see all the smiling faces and laughing faces. We actually have a really good time. All right, so today, what the freak are we talking about? Today we're talking about what tradition have you stopped asking questions about? Like in the description it says, traditions. Brings out the warm fuzzies, doesn't it? That Christmas tradition of opening one present on Christmas Eve, or the tradition of barbecues and fireworks on the 4th of July. Well, in the U.S. anyway. Warm fuzzies, right? Yet how often do we fight over traditions? Been made wrong if our traditions are different than another? And how dare you not go with a tradition? I don't know about you, but has anyone else been made wrong for not going with a tradition? Yeah, me too. With the holy and anointed traditions, how much do we actually turn off our awareness and stop asking questions? What traditions are we following without even realizing it? You know, for me, this is an interesting topic, especially on the way to a country where traditions are so vastly different from us. You know, it was, speaking about Christmas, it was interesting because my lovely host, Ebru, when I saw her in, I think it was last year in September, October, something like that, or even earlier. And she was asking me, she's like, well, what are you know, I would love to have you come. Do you have any time for this year? And I'm like, I don't, you know, I take Christmas off. Well, I take the month of December from not traveling. I still work, but I don't travel. And, you know, with just fighting with people with the Christmas time and family time and all that kind of stuff, it's like, hey, I take Christmas and family time, right? And she looks at me and she goes, Turkey's a Muslim country. We don't care about Christmas. I'm like, oh, yeah. But, you know, we do that with traditions often as we start to paint the entire populace with the one paintbrush of, well, of course it's going to be a big deal about Christmas all over the place, isn't it? And it's not. So I don't think I'm on the internet at all. How does it get better than that? All right, so with the traditions, it's really interesting. This actually came up kind of because of a silly tradition. And it's one of those traditions that we don't think about because some of the obvious traditions is like, you know, when we, for me, our family, we enjoy Christmas Eve dinner. And in Christmas Eve dinner, what we do is we go to we go to, apparently I have BODPOC traditions enough. I can't remember something we've been doing for almost 40 years. Chinese food. We have Chinese food for Christmas Eve dinner. Okay. And, this came out because of my mom was working late one night, because when my dad and mom were married, they had this insulation company. And so she spent that night, Christmas Eve, doing payroll and things like that, so that people could have money for Christmas and all that kind of stuff. And so it got back, and she's like, you know what, I don't feel like cooking. And the only thing was open, like that movie, if you guys have seen it, those who have seen the Christmas Story movie, the only thing that was open was a Chinese food restaurant. And so they ended up at a Chinese restaurant. Well, same with us. The only thing that was open was a Chinese food restaurant. And so we went to go to, we did Chinese. And it stuck. Even this year, every Christmas Eve, we get together and we do Christmas Eve dinner at Chinese food. Now, flash forward to about 10 years ago or something. I can't remember. My brother had a new wife and newly moved into the area with the rest of us. So all of us are like, yay, you get to come with us to Christmas Eve dinner. Notice there's no question of like, are you coming with us to Christmas Eve dinner? And he went, well, of course I'm going to Christmas Eve dinner. We'll be there. No question of, oh, honey, do you want to do this? And so his new wife went, but I have our own tradition. I like to do blah, blah, blah on Christmas Eve. And so became this huge contention. I mean, we even fought with things like, well, there's 30 of us to one of you. And she's like, but we should do my tradition. And we're like, there's 30 of us that want to go to Christmas Eve dinner at Chinese. Why would we go instead of, change everything for just one person and blah, blah. So we did a little bit of insanity, and it was all based on this tradition. Because it's like, what have we defined is a bad thing if tradition stops or changes, I actually really like the quote I grabbed by Woody Allen. It says, tradition is the illusion of permanence. Okay? So often we do that. It's like, oh, well, and this is where I'm talking about we stop asking questions. Because it's like, well, this is just the way it is. We have the answer. How many of us, look at this basically. How many of us actually like not needing to ask questions? Okay. I don't know about you, but when I first started using the Access Consciousness tools, the Right Body for You tools, and Dr. Dane here, co-creator of Access, stood up there and went, it's all about asking questions. Are you willing to ask questions? I'm like, no. I actually said no. I'm not willing to ask questions because I had gotten in trouble a lot by asking questions of things I should do or shouldn't do. I just got in trouble a lot by asking questions. I had this, and it wasn't the questions I was asking, a lot of them were about religion. As some of you may know, I grew up in a very religious family. And I wasn't trying to be mean or cause trouble, but I was actually asking for information, okay? It's like, well, what about this? Blah, 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 blah. And the people who I asked, their answer was often, you're just trying to make trouble. You shouldn't ask questions like that. So I'm like, So I actually got really afraid of asking questions. So as I was growing up, things that I didn't have to wonder about, things I knew the answers to, I was very happy and willing to go with that. I was very happy and willing to go, okay, that's what it is. Don't have to think about that. Don't have to ask questions. Don't have to be present. Don't have to choose anything. It's just laid out for me. Yay, I can be a lemming. I could be a lemming. Where's my furry suit, Obviously, it wasn't a conscious thought of that's what I was thinking about, but it is what, kind of came up. And traditions has this similar energy, because just like a simple with that Christmas Eve one, it's like, I know what I'm doing every Christmas Eve. And hey, you know what? I've actually thought, oh, glad I'm not married. I don't have to worry about that sharing, going to their family or my family or, that kind of stuff. And I went, wow, that's an interesting statement. But, start looking at this for you guys. It's like, what traditions do you guys have that you don't ask questions about anymore, okay? And really, obviously, these are the big traditions, the family traditions, even traditions could even be something as like how you get dressed in the morning, which I thought was hilarious because, I have 2 cats, and they have their spots on my desk when I'm home. They have their spots on my desk and the little perch that they sit there and sleep on while I work. Well, this morning, normally I get up, make some coffee, sit down and answer some emails, do all that kind of stuff, then get up and take a shower and come back and do some more work and that kind of stuff, right? So that's what they're used to. Well, today was a little bit different because I knew I go from recording this with you to an appointment 15 minutes later, and then I'm coming right back and I'm doing a live Zoom event, which is a video conference with all the Turkish people, okay? And I'm like, oh, well, I have to be fully dressed, fully hair curled, and all that kind of stuff first. And so I actually changed up my morning tradition, habit, whatever you want to call it, but things that I stopped asking questions about. Instead of getting up and making coffee and coming sit down at my desk, I got up, went directly into the shower, and started doing all that. Somewhere during the middle of that, I noticed my cats were gone because usually they're in the bedroom with me. And when I finally come into my office 45 minutes after I wake up, they're both sitting in their spots and they're looking at me like, where have you been? We've been here waiting for you. And excuse me, why are you not here yet? Now they're asleep because all is right in their world that I'm sitting at the desk. But it's really interesting the thing that came up even in their universe of what was, kind of a tradition already. Okay. All right. We're going to take a quick little break. When we come back, I'm actually going to talk about something that kind of really sparked this whole show. I was having a conversation with somebody and I'm like, oh, it's like that blah, blah, blah story. And they're like, I don't know that story. And so from that conversation is how we came up with this subject. So, yes, that's a teaser. Ha, ha, ha. Which, by the way, is a grand and glorious tradition of the radio business, is to say, hey, you know what, when we come back, I'll tell you this. It's also a great form of manipulation. And, I actually did a radio show. My first radio show was called Access the Magic. It was at a broadcast station in St. George, Utah with my mom. And we did it for 4 years. And I actually did this great show. I should look it up and post it somewhere. It was Manipulation, the Greatest Tool That You Never Use. And that teasing you to come back after the break was part of that manipulation, which I actually found funny. All right, so I'll look up that show and post it on one of my older shows with my mommy, who, by the way, helped me create a lot of these traditions. And, that's also an interesting aspect. So we'll talk about traditions with those who are no longer with you when we get back. All right. So this is Donnielle. This is Right Body for You. We're on A2Zen.fm, and we'll be right back.
What if your body could be an ease and not a burden? What would life be like if you could enjoy your body? What if changing your body was easier than we've been taught? And what if it's not about the latest fad? Join Donnielle each week on Right Body for You as she explores what bodies are and the ease of change that's possible. Each week you will receive inspirational stories of those who've used the Right Body for You energetic tools to change their body and the tools that they used, tools that you can begin to use immediately. Listen for Right Body for You every Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern Time, 1 p.m. Central, 12 p.m. Mountain, and 11 a.m. Pacific on A2Zen.fm.
Hey everybody, this is Dr. Dane here, and I would like to invite you to an adventure in being. I've just written and finished a new book known as Being You, Changing the World. Are you one of those dreamers? One of those people who's always known that other possibilities should be available but haven't yet been able to see them be created? Well, I wrote this book for you. In it, you'll find tools, processes, and unique perspectives to change the things you've always wanted to change but didn't know how. In it, you'll find an invitation to a different possibility for a way that we can be in this world that changes not only our lives, but by being us, allows us to contribute to changing everything planet-wide that doesn't work. Are you aware that truly great people, truly being them, is the only thing that has ever created a great change on this planet? Are you willing to step up? Are you willing to be one? Check out a copy of my new book, Being You, Changing the World. I invite you to go to beingyoubook.com for a free gift.
When you're pondering the big questions like, is there more than this? How can I have a happy relationship? What would it take to like my body? And how do I make more money? Where do you go for information and tools? Check out the online store at accessconsciousness.com. AccessConsciousness.com has books, DVDs, instant video and audio downloads, online classes, and so much more. Subjects include abuse, changing your body, recovery, raising children, business techniques, tools to generate more money, how to have better sex and healthier relationships, just to name a few. At AccessConsciousness.com, you can also find facilitators who teach local classes on a variety of subjects. AccessConsciousness.com, your one-stop shop for tools to assist you in changing your life. All of life comes to us with ease, joy, and glory. Go to AccessConsciousness.com to learn more.
This is Right Body for You with Donnielle. To participate in the program today, please call in the U.S. 815-880-8255 or Canada 613-800-8763 or UK 4433-0001-0625. You can Skype us at a2zen.fm. Or if you'd like to email a question, please send it to Donnielle at accessconsciousness.com. Now, back to the program.
And welcome back to Right Body for You. I am your host, Donnielle. I am your body tour guide, your giggle leader, sometimes your tour guide of the strange and things you don't think about, but interestingly, I and my friends tend to. We tend to go off and go, oh, that was interesting, and oh, that could be a good show. Yes, folks. The show is always one of the priorities in my head of like, oh, that would be a good show topic. Oh, that would be a good show topic. Now the trick is just writing them down. Anybody else ever do that? Yeah. It's kind of like almost a grand and glorious tradition, isn't it, of forgetting things if you don't write it down. I joke, but I don't joke, because even that could be a tradition that we're not looking at of like, well, if you don't write it down, you'll forget it. Everybody does it, right? Okay, so the story that we were talking about, it's like, because I was talking with a friend one day, and I'm like, oh, it's kind of like that ham story, okay? And she's like, I don't know what you mean by the ham story. She goes, is this a pig? Is it dirty? I don't get it. And I'm like, well, the woman who was making the ham, she's like, nope. I'm like, okay, well, let me tell you the story. So let me tell you the story for those of you who have not heard it. Young woman got married, and she was cooking dinner one day for her husband, and so she got this ham. And for those of you who don't know, it's interestingly shaped. I'm not sure how they shape it like they do, but it's kind of like a big half-circle oblong thing, okay? Anyway, she cuts off the butt end of it, the part that wasn't an open face of the ham. She cuts off the butt end, and she puts it in the oven. And her husband goes, well, why did you cut off the butt of the ham? There's still a lot of meat on there. And she's like, she stops, and she looks at him, and she's like, I don't know. We've just always done it that way. And he's like, why? She's like, oh gosh, I don't know. And so she calls her mother, and she's like, hey, Mom, why did we always cut off the end of the butt end of the ham before we put it in the pan in the oven? And she's like, her mother is like, stops, like deer in headlight blinking. And she's like, gosh, I don't know. We just always did that. My mom did that. Wow. I don't know. Let me call her. So she calls her mother. So it's the grandmother, the mother of the other girl. And she's like, hey, Mom, why did we always cut off the end of the ham before we cooked it? And the grandmother, she just kind of chuckles and she's like, oh, well, the pan was too small, so we always had to cut off the butt end to make it fit in the pan so we could put it in the oven. Cue laughter or cue head scratching. Like, how many times have we actually done these traditions to where we turn off our awareness? 2 generations of ham butts being thrown away because the pan didn't fit. It was a smaller pan. They had to cut off part of the ham and to make it fit. And so the mother or the daughter went, oh, that's just how we do it. So when she was in her own kitchen and got a bigger pan, it was tradition to cut off the butt of the ham and put it in. And so it went on. And so these are the type of traditions that I'm talking about. Those moments where we have actually stopped asking questions and we cut off our awareness. We had a question in the chat room. It's like, so how do traditions stop us from creating more? Well, this is kind of the way it is, okay? When we swear our allegiance to the holy and anointed traditions, traditions, you're not supposed to change it. You're not supposed to monkey with it. You're not supposed to not do it. Heaven forbids if you don't do it. And so in this, we actually cut off our awareness. And, I talk a lot about awareness. Like my nephew is just leaving, pretty much right now, for a 6-week trip abroad, a study abroad, and he's never been out of the country before. And I've actually spent the last several weeks talking to him going, remember, you're an aware person. Don't buy into all these scary things that they say about, young U.S. travelers. It's like, yes, be aware, but don't be so scared that you're afraid to do anything, because he's going to like South Africa and some other places, these national parks, and he's quite excited about this trip. And I could totally see where one might say the tradition of U.S. people being stupid or get taken advantage of or all this kind of stuff, or just buying into their own fear, or a young person abroad for the first time buying into their fear could kind of get him into trouble. And so I'm like, okay, other people may be doing this because there's like 30 of them in the group. I'm like, but you don't have to do that. You're a smart and very aware boy. Now, he's never he's never listened to the radio show. He's never listened to any of my workshops or taken any access classes or anything like that. But it doesn't matter. If you're an aware person, you're an aware person, period. Which, by the way, you're all aware. So in this, I'm looking at this, and as I'm talking to him, I'm like, be aware, just be aware. We started talking about the energies. I told him the story about me recognizing a gypsy pickpocket in Rome and that kind of stuff. And it's just like, be aware. So what did I text him this morning as he's getting ready to leave? I'm like, awareness, don't leave home without it. And he's like, I'm not. Don't worry, I packed it early. I'm like, thank you, And awareness is a big thing. You don't want to turn off your awareness for anything. And traditions has the real ability to have you do that. You cut off your awareness. You have the answer. You don't ask questions about it. You don't do what else is possible. You do, well, this is the way it is. Okay? So everywhere, everyone's gone, well, this is the way it is, and gone, awareness off, blink, 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 blink. I'm telling you, we got to stream these shows because half the time my faces are pretty funny. Just then I looked like a robot, with the head to the side, blink, 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 or the Stepford Wives. If you guys haven't seen Stepford Wives movie, it's pretty funny. Not the Nicole Kidman one, the original one. So everywhere we've made made things in our life, whether they're family traditions or other traditions or something that we might call a habit, like how I just got dressed in the morning, but we've turned off our awareness because we had the answer, truth, would you guys be willing to destroy and uncreate all that? Right, wrong, good, bad, apocalypse, night shirts, boys and beyonds. And that's an example of the access consciousness clearing statement. Basically, it works on the energetic level. And if you want to learn more about it, you go to theclearingstatement.com. But basically, it tells you, or it helps you with, if you're willing to see different, if you're willing to choose different, all you have to do is be willing and say yes, which a lot of you did. So, and then it just works. So if you want to learn more about it, again, that's theclearingstatement.com. Okay. So with these traditions and turning off your awareness, you don't actually create. You stagnate. You do the whole no change. Have you ever been to a pond that doesn't have an influx of fresh water? What happens to the surface? Kind of gets gross, stagnates, right? No movement. Gets gross, it gets a nice little film and a smell, and, it's just, how many traditions are actually smelly now that we're not willing to pour fresh water in and change it up? Let's see. And what's interesting is about these traditions, besides the cutting off your awareness, is it tends to be a judgeable offense. Have you ever had that? It's like, you're not coming home for Christmas? What? Like 2 years ago, Thanksgiving in the U.S. is not really my favorite holiday. I'm grateful for the people in my life every day, give thanks. In the U.S., that's what we talk about, is this American holiday and I know Canada has a Thanksgiving too. But in the U.S., we talk about being thankful for those around you and give thanks. That's a big thing. On Thanksgiving, you give thanks. And I'm like, well, I give thanks every day. And basically the rest of the tradition is about food, turkey and pies and all that kind of stuff. And I'm not, me and my body aren't actually a big turkey fan. It's not very exciting for me, and pies and whatever. And I enjoy spending time with my family, but now that I live in Utah, I'm with my family a lot, which is cool. It's what I moved here for. And so a friend of mine was having problems with her family. So she didn't want to be with her family on Thanksgiving. And so her and I cooked up this idea of going to, the chat room, somebody said pies are the best tradition. Yes. One year, I know this is a little side note, but one year my mom made 14 different flavors of pies. And I say different flavors because it's not like she had 3 banana cream and 3 lemon meringue pies. No. 14 different flavors, and some of them were duplicate. It was insane. And that's when she made her own crust and everything. Yes, Christine said she would have loved my mom. Yes, she would have. And so, okay, back to the story. So she did want to be with her family, and so I'm like, well, let's go somewhere for Thanksgiving. I'm not really that keen on the holiday, and I'm with my family all the time. You don't want to be with your family, so let's go to New Orleans. And so we went to New Orleans for Thanksgiving, and my family initially was like, what do you mean you won't be here? It's like, it's kind of acceptable if I'm at a class. Like, I missed the prior Thanksgiving because I was in Italy. And, they don't celebrate Thanksgiving in Italy, so it was kind of okay because I couldn't get back to the States and blah, 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 blah. But with this of like, well, you're choosing not to be here, it was a little bit of a rough patch. And, my sister and I talked about it, and then she was fine with it, blah, 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 blah. But what was interesting was the first, what? You're not going to be here for Thanksgiving? And I'm like, no, sorry. So how many times have you been made wrong for choosing something different than your traditions and you got judged for it? You know, even some people, it's like, well, my mom and dad went to this university, so I'm supposed to go to this university, but I'm going over here. You know, I know a gentleman who all of his family were lawyers, and he ended up being a teacher, and it was like, what? You're going to be a teacher? You're not going to be a lawyer? Sacrilege. You know, and it's like, it's really interesting, these things that come up with traditions. Or, you know, when I lived in Green Bay, two of the main things for young men to become were a policeman or a what do you call it? Fireman. Like in my head, I'm like, you know, the man with the fire. Yes, fireman. Yes. And one family would choose fireman, one family would choose police, and it would be really interesting. The people would be like, we're all policemen except John. John went and became a fireman. Ooh, broke out of tradition. And it was interesting, even that, something like that, like choosing a career against your family is a bad move and a judgeable offense. So once again, everywhere you have been judged for breaking tradition, truth, which we will destroy and uncreate all that. Right, wrong, good, bad, pocket, nice shorts, boys, and beyond. Speaking of break, it's time for our next break. We're just going to take a quick little break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about those warm fuzzies and traditions. Are they a good thing, or are they a bad thing, or are they just a thing? Okay. All right. This is Donnielle. This is Right Body for You. We're on A2Zen.fm, and we'll be right back.
What if your body could be an ease and not a burden? What would life be like if you could enjoy your body? What if changing your body was easier than we've been taught? And what if it's not about the latest fad? Join Donnielle each week on Right Body for You as she explores what bodies are and the ease of change that's possible. Each week you will receive inspirational stories of those who've used the Right Body for You energetic tools to change their body and the tools that they used, tools that you can begin to use immediately. Listen for Right Body for You every Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern Time, 1 p.m. Central, 12 p.m. Mountain, and 11 a.m. Pacific on A2Zen.fm.
What if you really do change molecules by your interaction with them? What if the change you've been looking for is right before your eyes? What if the uncomfortableness that comes with difference could be fun? What if the closed-minded people of the world no longer determined our world? What if gratitude trumps judgment every time? What if your kindness healed the world? What if the earth is asking for your help? And what if you had the resources to give it? This is your invitation to step into something that Einstein, Marie Curie, Picasso, Da Vinci, Shakespeare, Aristotle all knew to be true. Hi, my name is Dane here. 13 years ago I started to truly ask questions. Actually, I started to be the question, and everything changed for me. What if there are no dumb questions? Or any question too large? What if you being you are the gift and the change this world requires? Is now the time? For more questions to create a change in your world, sign up for a free video series at beingyouclass.com. My gift to you, beingyouclass.com.
This is Right Body for You with Donnielle. To participate in the program today, please call in the U.S. 815-880-8255 or Canada 613-800-8763 or UK 4433-0001-0625. You can Skype us at A2Zen.fm. Or if you'd like to email a question, please send it to Donnielle at accessconsciousness.com. Now, back to the program.
And welcome back to Right Body for You. I am Donnielle. I am your host. I'm your giggle leader, your body tour guide, and sometimes this voice in your head that makes you scratch your head going, what? And today we're talking about what traditions have you stopped asking questions about. And earlier I talked about the story of the family who had continually cut off part of a ham so it could. They were cutting off the part of the ham because that's how they saw their mother do it, and then their mother, and then their mother, and so on. And the initial reason that it wasn't, that the part of the ham was cut off was because the pan was too small. And so it's like with traditions like that, it's like it was born out of a necessity, okay? It was born out of a necessity of a small pan and the ham needs to fit in the pan. And then it continues from there. So it's like, how many traditions do you actually have that were initially created in your family, born out of necessity, and then now continued simply because, well, that's what my mom did, and I'm going to do it like my mom. You know, and these are some of those warm fuzzies I'm talking about. Am I saying that you can't do traditions? Absolutely not. My life is full of traditions, and a lot of them I really enjoy. But I've also started asking questions about them. And what's fun is when you ask questions about it, it doesn't always necessarily mean you change the tradition. But when you ask questions about it, you either see it as the fun it is, and so they actually start to run deeper. And those warm fuzzies actually increase more because you have more of a depth and breadth and gratitude for the traditions and what they can be and what they symbolize and the connections and all those warm fuzzy things that traditions are actually hopefully for you versus the traditions that are no longer required. Things like cutting off the butt end of the ham to fit in a pan that, you know, you threw away 3 generations ago. Something like that, or something that doesn't work for you. You know, somebody else in the chat room talked about that they've spent the last 3 Christmases in a row. She chose not to have Christmas 3 years in a row. Created great ease for me in my home and my world. Went elsewhere and chose where it worked for me. Oh my gosh, she didn't even have Christmas. Can you imagine? Okay, but this is right where we go, right? With these traditions, like, oh, you didn't even have Christmas. How could you not do that? Are you Muslim today? You know, and silly things like that. And so she responded to what I said when I said I did. What, you didn't have Christmas? She's like, nope. Excuse me. And which, by the way, if you guys have never actually joined us in the chat room, please do. It's actually a lot of fun. We joke, we laugh, you get to ask questions, people talk to each other, contribute to each other. It's a lot of fun. So go to atozen.fm and in the top drop-down menu, chat room, and you can just throw in your name, but you can also throw in any name. This morning I signed in as Goddess Divine, which you guys will see. I can't remember the date of it, but we'll announce it when it comes closer. Christine McCarthy, our lovely producer, our lovely co-host of her own Inspired Choices show, and owner of A to Zen. She also does a TV show now. And, MacGyver, sorry, did I say McCarthy? I'm a bad friend. Christine MacGyver, which is funny because I always call Miss Christine McCarthy Miss Christine MacGyver. So, she says she's done with me. I'm a tradition. She's giving up. You wish. Never. Anyways, Christine MacGyver, she does the Inspired Choices radio show on A to Zen. She owns A to Zen, and she's an amazing friend and and an amazing producer. She actually is starting a TV show, which is pretty exciting. It'll air on May 25th. Hey, which is today. So we'll be sure to get the word out on that. But at the end of the show, she asked if you could be, May 25th for this show, May 24th for the TV show. So what happens when you read and talk at the same time? Anyways, but on the show, she asked me if there was another name that I wanted to be called by, and I said Goddess Divine, which those of you who are Jane Austen fans, it's so funny, I heard Anne Rice, Jane Austen, slightly different authors, but if you're a Jane Austen fan, it comes from Pride and Prejudice, so I think that's funny. So I signed in today to the chat room as Goddess Divine, because it was funny for me. So like I said, it's really easy. You don't have to download anything to be in the chat room, but it is fun to participate in the energy and the laughter and in the questions. So do check it out sometime. Okay, so with these warm fuzzies, it's like, okay, so my mom is no longer physically on this plate. She's around as an entity quite a lot, which is pretty funny. I always really perceive her around in different ways, and so there are things. It was really interesting how the first she passed away about 3.5 years ago, and so for the first year, and it was an unexpected death. I came home for Christmas. Speaking of, I came home for Christmas, and then I left, and then within 24 hours I was back because she had thrown a blood clot. And so, like I said, it was very sudden, very unexpected. And so it kind of threw me into a uber tradition person. It was like, on Mother's Day, I had to do what we usually do together, and I wouldn't even change name brands of things because, well, that's what Mom used, and that kind of stuff. And it was really interesting how I cut off so much questions about what else is possible, what my body would like, where I would like to go, or anything like that. And so these are the things. It's like, with my nieces and nephews, or if I had kids, it's like, oh, well, we use this brand, or this is how we do it because of my mother. And they're like, okay, so this their tradition, then their tradition, then their tradition. And then 5 generations were like, I don't know why we have Cheerios. Do you know why we have Cheerios for Christmas dinner? No, I don't know. I know that's an exaggeration about Cheerios for Christmas dinner, but, we start to get into these things of like no thought, no awareness, no creation, okay? When you're just following the tradition and not have question in it, not have an awareness in it, you cut off what else is possible. You cut off creation. And so really the big tool for today is just to ask questions about the traditions. And like I said, not ask questions because, traditions are bad and down with traditions and, let's send villagers with pitchforks and tar after them or anything like that. Traditions, no. And if you follow tradition, it's bad. That's not what I'm saying at all. There are a lot of traditions that I know I will continue to have in my life, like this Christmas Eve dinner. It's one of my favorite traditions. I always make a pecan pie for Thanksgiving because, hey, you know what? I like pecan pie. My sister and I, since our mom passed away, have started going to the movies on her birthday, right? Just to celebrate her, because going to the movies was something my mom and I always did a lot. And so my sister and I go to the movies to celebrate her. And these are traditions that I'm going to continue because they're fun for me. They do give me that warm fuzzies, that feeling of connection. But now that I've now that I've added questions to it, asking those questions, it's actually more of a depth and a breadth. Because it's like this past August, my sister and I did not go to a movie to celebrate my mother. Oh my gosh, we broke tradition. How horrible of us. No, actually, we were asking questions. And we ended up doing something of a more religious nature for a celebration of my mother that involved my whole family. Okay, so we had already broken our own tradition, but not in a bad, judgeable way, but in a way of honoring my mother, of maintaining that connection, that depth and that breadth, and the ones that actually give you true warm fuzzies, okay? And we've already talked about this August and how we're going to go to a movie again, okay? So what if breaking tradition didn't mean the tradition stopped? It was just, hey, you know what? This year, this is what's going to go on. This morning, I'm going to get dressed before I go to my desk. Little things like that, okay? so we're going to take our last little break, and when we come back, we're going to talk a little bit more about how tradition looks with question, okay? All right, this is Donnielle. This is Right Body for You. We're on A2Zen.fm, and we'll be right back.
What if your body could be an ease and not a burden? What would life be like if you could enjoy your body? What if changing your body was easier than we've been taught? And what if it's not about the latest fad? Join Donnielle each week on Right Body for You as she explores what bodies are and the ease of change that's possible. Each week you will receive inspirational stories of those who've used the Right Body for You energetic tools to change their body and the tools that they used, tools that you can begin to use immediately. Listen for Right Body for You every Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern Time, 1 p.m. Central, 12 p.m. Mountain, and 11 a.m. Pacific on A2Zen.fm.
What would you say if I told you that you could change your life in only 1 hour and all while lying down relaxing? Thousands of people all over the world have. What am I talking about? It's called Access Consciousness, the bars. The bars is an energetic body process that contains 32 different points on your head that when run assist you in releasing decisions about any area of your life that you have made solid and as a result cannot change. The bars is the first class in Access Consciousness, a dynamic set of tools and information designed to transform any area of your life. When you have a bars session, the worst that can happen is you feel like you had a fantastic massage. The best thing that can happen is your whole life could change. Go to accessconsciousness.com today to find a facilitator to schedule a private session or to find a bars class in your area. Are you willing to give yourself an hour to change your life?
This is Right Body for You with Donnielle. To participate in the program today, please call in the U.S. 815-880-8255 or Canada 613-800-8763 or UK 4433-0001-0625. You can Skype us at A2Zen.fm. Or if you'd like to email a question, please send it to Donnielle at accessconsciousness.com. Now, back to the program.
And welcome back to Right Body for You. I'm your host, Donnielle. And today we're talking about what traditions have you stopped asking questions about? And excuse me, during the break I was even looking at this, now that I brought up my mom, I was looking at all the places and traditions I did with her. And radio was actually one of them. Okay, guys, it was really interesting because I started doing radio with her when I was 12. And for 4 years before her death, I did a radio show with her. We both spoke, co-host. She was her and I was me, and we did the show together for 4 years. And so the show died when she died. And it actually took me over 2 years to be able to do a show without my mom, So it was interesting. It was traditionally a show with my mom. And I'm like, well, how can I do a show without her? Blah, blah, blah. And, and so I asked, and basically my sign-off is an homage to her because she used to say, make it a happy week, a healthy week, and be back next week. I will be. And bye-bye. And that, I do a variation of it, and that's my little homage to her that I get to do each week. And, for me, that is one of those traditions that is warm, is fuzzy, and should one day I don't do. And there are some radio shows where it's like it doesn't read or it doesn't work or I run out of time. I don't get mad at myself. I don't be like, oh my gosh, I didn't honor her or whatever, because, the whole show is honoring of her, really. And so when we look at these things, when we look at these traditions, I'm just encouraging you to ask questions about it. It's like, truth, is this what I desire to do this year? Or truth, is this working for me? Or truth, is this even required anymore? Because I tell you what, guys, when I have asked, now that I've added asking questions about tradition, through traditions that I continue to do have so much more of a breadth and depth, and the warm fuzzies to it is really what the traditions are about. I'm no longer that lemming just going through with traditions of like, well, that's just the way it's supposed to be, blah, 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 blah. I actually have more gratitude, have more of a enjoyment of the traditions if I'm not doing them from the lemming phase. And then the traditions that I actually change or is no longer required or go against. What's interesting is if I'm not judging myself about it, there's less judgment from other people. I say less because I'd love to say that there was no judgment, but there was. But there was less because I had nothing on it. So please, 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 do not cut off your awareness for anything, which, you know what? That includes traditions. What works for you, what doesn't work for you, okay? So please check it out. Ask a question about tradition. It's the new tradition if it makes you feel any better. Asking questions about tradition is the new tradition. Ha ha ha. All right. Well, if you enjoyed this, I invite you guys to check out the Right Body for You workshops. I have so much fun with those. Like I said, I'm on my way to Turkey to do the first Right Body for You workshop of this year. I am going to so many fun places: Turkey, Brisbane, Toronto, Dubai, London, Rome, Egypt, Vienna. I know I forgot some, Seattle, and they're everywhere. A couple of them are being streamed, which means you can watch from anywhere. Please check it out. We have a good time. Right Body for You, it's about the creation of your life with the contribution that your body can be, okay? Which is why we do so much talking about bodies. Bodies are this amazing tool and capacity, and you don't actually have to have a problem to come to these classes. What if you just want more, okay? Because in the Right Body for You workshops, and the show is about an invitation to more. That's what all of these radio shows, the workshops, the books, everything is about, is inviting you to more. And not from a deficit. It's not from like you have to be lacking in something to create. It's just about creating from wherever you are. Even if that just means more. Yay, more for the world. More for you. Okay, so please take a look at it. Right Body for You workshops. We have a good time. You can email me at Donnielle@accessconsciousness.com. Donnielle@accessconsciousness.com. DONNIELLE. Or you can go to check out the class listings. Donnielle Carter.accessconsciousness.com. Or if you can't remember that, just go to accessconsciousness.com and look up me, Donnielle. DONNIELLE. And I do encourage you, like with my nephew, awareness. Don't leave home without it, which includes traditions, which includes conversations with friends, which includes conversations with coworkers, which include conversations with yourself. Yes. Can you turn off awareness of conversations with yourself? Absolutely. But adding question to everything gives you clarity so you can enjoy things more, even like things, traditions. What else is possible with life and living when we ask questions about everything? Okay? So much. And if you guys have any suggestions of shows, please let me know. I'd love to hear what you and your body would like to know more about. And if it's something I don't know, I will find somebody who knows it, because that's just the way I fly. I learned from my mom, one of the best interviewers I've ever known, to interview people, and we have a lot of fun with that. Okay? All right. So remember, add questions to everything, even tradition. Those that stay makes it deeper. Those who goes away makes you funner, have a funner life. What else is possible with that? All right. So everybody, make it a fun week. Make it a happy week. Enjoy your body because it's enjoying you. And be back next week. Because you know what? I will be. Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Thank you for listening to Right Body for You. Donnielle will return next Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern Time, 1 p.m. Central, 12 p.m. Mountain, and 11 a.m. Pacific on A to Zen.fm. We hope you and your body will join us.